All right, and we're back with some Hearthstone, except this time we are actually going to look at all the new cards. All the new cards have been revealed here for Showdown in the Badlands. We're going to take a look at them. We're going to take a look at them all. Starting here with Death Knight, of course. So first, as a preface. So some of the classes have the singleton mechanic now, which is only one copy of any card, no duplicates, that sort of thing. Highlander, Outlander, as one of my friends suggested when we were talking about Singleton coming back with these outlaws, Outlander decks. And then some of them have Excavate as a key mechanic, which is Death Knight here, which have Excavate as a key mechanic. So here we have the treasures that you'll get when excavating. The first time you excavate, you'll get one of these treasures randomly, one of these ones. Either Escaping Trog, which is 1 mana 2/2 with Rush, the Rock, which is 1 mana deal damage, restore 3 health, draw a card, 2 coins, or discover 2 costs that will cost 0. Those are the initial options. The first time you excavate, you'll get one of those randomly. The second time, you'll get one of these randomly, which is Living Stone, which is a 2/4 with Taunt and Death Rattle of summoning a random 2 cost. A 2/1 that beast that will return an enemy minion to its owner's hand. The Glowing Glyph will give a minion and its neighbors +1/+2. The Falling Stalactites will deal 3 damage to a minion and the hero. Enemy hero, and then this will discover a 3 cost and it'll cost 0. Then the third time you excavate, third time anyone excavates, you'll get one of these, like Azurite Drem, discover a 5 cost, it's cost 0, collapse, deal 3 to all enemies. Taunt Reborn can't be targeted with it's a 2/7. This Rush Divine Shield Lifesteal 4/3. Muffalo Drake. And then the Ogre Fist Boulder, which is a location, 2 durability, set a minion stats to 6/7. Good stats, good cost. And that's the third time that anyone excavates. But some classes, specifically Death Knight, Mage, Rogue, Warlock, and Warrior, are all working with the miners to strip mine Azurite, and they get one of these Azurite beasts. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at these Azurite beasts real quick. Starting here with the Azurite Rat, which which of course is 4 mana because of how the excavate stuff works. It's the fourth time you excavate, so it's going to be 4 mana. 4 mana 5/5 Elemental Beast with a battle cry of resurrect your highest cost minion and give it +2/+2, reborn, and lifesteal. So that's the reward for excavating, is make a resummon one of your big minions, your biggest minions that has died. Rather neat effect. Could bring back. Generally, you'll want it to bring back your Titan, the Primus. So that's generally what you'll hope for it to hit it on. But there's also a Death Knight card that we'll see here that has synergy with that as well. The Mage reward is, of course, a 4 mana 5/5 Elemental Beast again. The Azurite Hawk. Battlecry, get a random Titan. It costs 1. Random Titans are pretty good, especially when they cost 1, because Mana Sheet is very good. We'll have to look at the Mage Excavate cards to see if they're actually decent. The Azurite Scorpion for Rogue, 4 mana 5/5 Elemental Beast again, with the battle cry of getting you 4 random spells. But if you excavated 8 times, they cost 0. So Rogue is generally going to excavate a lot, hopefully, in order to get some good free spells. Probably one of the weakest ones, which is good because it's in Rogue, which can bounce effects and stuff. Azurite Snake, 4 mana 5/5 for Warlock. Your hero steals 10 health from the enemy hero. So you steal their actual life total. They lose 10 and you gain 10. This passes under armor. So if they're on 10 HP, but with like 5 armor, and you play this, they'll die. If you play 2 of them, and the maximum health will just go down. It just sucks them. Azurite Ox for Warrior is, of course, the last one here. Again, 4 mana 5/5, all of them are. You discover 2 8-cost minions and you summon them. I don't know if you're able to discover like the Primus, because he's 8 mana, or other 8 mana like good things that I can't think of off the right top of my head, but there's some good 8-mana cards that you could summon. There's some rush minions. I know there's taunts, like Cecil in Druid you could summon. It's a big pile of stats, which I think is rather nice. So back to the actual cards. Now that we got that out of the way, we'll start with the Death Knight. So Death Knight's package, they of course have Excavate cards in here, as well as they have Excavate cards, and that's mainly what they have here. So let's start with here with Fistful of Corpses. Technically, they're not corpses yet. Blood and Unholy to run this. 1 mana, deal damage to a minion equal to your corpses. I think I like it. I like the card. If it was just blood or just unholy. As both, it's a little bit, I don't see it really getting run too much. I guess they're current, like I have a blood unholy plague that could use this, I guess, as a little removal tool. It just remains to be seen. Of course, you can use it in rainbow. A lot of things here have single of various types of rune. So rainbow is looking more fun. But next here we have part of their excavation synergy, 2 mana 2/1 undead, pile of bones, death rattle. The next time you excavate, resummon it. So you get it if you can get it out early. When you start playing your excavate cards are for Death Knight are over here. You got Repo for 4 mana and 3 mana as your excavates. If you can get it out early, so you can actually like reliably, it makes up for some of the tempo loss that excavating brings, because excavation is generally a tempo loss with like its high mana cost generally with a lot of these effects. It's a lot of high mana stuff. Like you got a 2 mana 1/1 that'll excavate in neutral. It's a good idea to hopefully get this out early. If you get it out early, then it like does make up for the tempo loss of excavation, which is I think pretty nice and will help with excavation in Death Knight if it does indeed function. Next up, we got the Corpse Farm, 3 mana Unholy Rune. Spend up to 8 corpses to summon a random minion of that cost. So this is bad. It's not great. Bride is better, really, because a lot of times random minions are not great most of the time because it's random. You're gonna get an understated minion with Battle Cry most of the time. You're of course never gonna get Titans or Colossuses with this because they can't be generated, can't be randomly summoned. I believe they can be discovered and summoned, which is why I think the Warrior Azurite card is rather nice, nice looking as far as power goes. But yeah, so like I said, I don't really see any unholy deck that wants to run this currently. Even Rainbow probably doesn't want to run it, even though it does spend corpses. You also got Corpse Bride that can do that. Generally better because it's a little bit more reliable. It's always summoning you this flat things. I guess you could summon things with extra effects in these cases, but I don't see it. Another 3 mana Unholy Spell, Crop Rotation. This one, however, I do like. You summon 4/1/1 undeads with rush that die at the end of your turn. So basically, you're summoning your hero power, except instead of charge, they have rush. You're summoning 4 of them at once. I think I like it. It's 4 corpses for your corpse synergies. Like your like in Unholy, you got your grave strength and such like that. The synergy for that. That up, and it's also synergy for this coming legendary that wants things to die, wants any minion to die. So we'll look at her in a second. Him, her, I'm not sure. I'll double check later. I'll look at it when we get there. Anyway, next up, 4 mana but 4 mana. A 3 mana 4/3 undead. The farmhand, 2 unholy rune requirement, so you're not able to splash this into things. You're generally mostly unholy for this. With a battle cry of discovering an undead. Quick draw. Quick draw is another mechanic with this set where if you play it on the same turn that you added it to your hand, it'll do its extra effect. In this case, you'll discover an undead and it'll cost 2 less if you quick draw it, which is the average undead is not that strong. But because you're a Death Knight, you have stronger options in your Discover pool. I think if you're going to run it, you want to run it for being able to use it the quick draw effect. Otherwise, it's not that great. You're basically playing a vanilla 3/4 with 4/3 rather, not opposite of Spider Tank stats. Discover is nice, a nice effect though. Excavate card, reap what you sow. It is a frost rune for 3 mana. Deal 3 damage and excavate. So, like I said before, excavation is increasing along. Again, also, like I said, it generally seems to be overcosted. Like, this could probably just be like 2 mana, but it's generally, excavate generally adds in an extra cost, like you see here. But again, hopefully your pile of bones can help you make up for that tempo lost. Maw and Paw, our first legendary here. Blood and Unholy. For 4 mana, it is a 1/8. These are Field Medic staffs, I believe is the name of the card. He's an undead, of course. They are an undead. At the end of your turn, gain 5 corpses. At the start of your turn, spend 5 corpses to give your hero +5 health. So, again, Rainbow. Rainbow is loving it. I love it for Rainbow. I'd probably put it in my Blood Unholy little plague deck that I have because you can just splash it in there. I like it. Generally, on like if you're dropping it on turn 4, it probably lives unless you're up against a mage or a warlock who will just reverberations it, and then you'll cry because they'll just it's my maw and paw, and yeah, they'll reverb it and then clear yours for free. But yeah, Skeleton Crew, another excavate card, is a 4 mana 3/3 undead, of course. Battlecry, excavate, and it will cost 0. So this again helps with the tempo thing because especially if you want to play him as your either third or fourth excavate. You don't want to play Skeleton Crew as your first excavate because then you're not really making that much. But if you play it like say manage to excavate turn 1 and turn 2, play them. You've managed to excavate twice already. You get in your third excavate, you get the Ogre Fist Boulder. You throw it down and get some tempo swing with stats and stuff, or otherwise. Generally, third or fourth excavate is when you want to play this guy. Generally, you want him to be your third excavate, I think, because I don't think the rat is something that you would just want for free. It's not really something that you want to play right away normally, though it is a nice bit of stats and stuff. But yeah, the rat is generally not something you want to play right away. The Harrowing Axe is again another excavate synergy here, but it's a 7 mana 7/7 with taunt. Of course, it is frost, so is it's one frost, so is the Skeleton Crew. If you've excavated twice, then your next card will cost 7 less. So you play him, and then your next card basically you're essentially getting a asterisk free 7/7. That requires it's only free if you have like another 7 mana thing in your hand. Otherwise, it's whatever the difference was. I don't see. I don't like it. I mean, sure, you could play Harrowing Ox, and then something else in order to or Harrowing Ox, Frostworm's Fury, their face to freeze and get a bunch of stats on board. I could see that. It would be a nice little swing there, but I'm not sure if that's what they'll do. I don't like the look of it. Kreska, the Pit Boss. 20 mana, 6/3 with Rush. Costs 1 less for each minion that died this game. With Death Rattle, take control of a random enemy minion. Yeah, they will just It's a Sylvanas effect here. Like, think old Sylvanas. So generally, you're going to want to reduce their costs to at least 5. That's generally, so you want like at least 15 things to die. Generally, that's going to happen, especially with you got crop rotation and stuff like that to help it out. And it's all minions, not just your own. I can see it happening. And in that case, you can take control of it random enemy mini. You can just Sylvanas. But see, I think this is anti with the rat because I think you want to have your highest cost minion be your Primus. Because I don't see resummoning Reska with the rat as a good thing. But we will find out. It remains to be seen. Demon Hunter, the first of our singleton our Highlander legendary. So they'll have a Highlander legendary. Let's start with the first things that they're doing. They're doing Naga and spells for the most part with their stuff, and then they of course got their singleton guys. So first, let's start with the Oasis Outlaws. For 1 mana, you got Oasis Outlaws, discover a Naga, but if you've played a Naga while holding this, then you reduce that Naga's cost by 1. Fairly nice if you're doing the Naga deck thing. There's some nice Naga, school teachers in Naga. There's some Naga that were revealed here, of course, which are nice to discover. Lady Theno still exists, but she's nerfed, so don't pick her generally. Yeah, there's some good Naga out there. There are also some not good Naga, but generally the average Naga is probably good. And even better if you are doing the Naga deck thing and you reduce its cost by 1. So I think good card, probably. Bartendo Bot. It's Bob over here, straight from Overwatch. He's a 2 mana 3/1. Who would have thought? He's of course a mech, and with Battle Cry of drawing an Outcast card and sliding it to the left side of your hand. I love the flavor of this, of it like sliding it across the counter. A plus on flavor, and I think it's a pretty nice card because it's both tutoring you your Outcast cards and putting it in position that it will outcast. So I think if you're in an Outcast, if you're running Outcast cards, this is a pretty good little 3/1. He's a 3/1, which means he's just going to get pinged and perish immediately. But still, I think his effect is really nice. Parch Desperado, a 2 mana 3/2 Naga with Battle Cry. If you've cast a spell while holding this, then you'll give your hero +3 attack this turn. I think if you are doing the Naga spell thing, this is pretty nice. It's a nice little extra bonus attack, I guess. He's a little upset that his oasis there is polluted. He is really thirsty and he doesn't want to drink that. I like him. Pocket Sand. 2 mana. Deal 3 damage. Quick draw. Your opponent's next card costs 1 more. Once again, quick draw is if you play it when it enters your turn, it'll do it. I think if you quick draw it, I think the 2 mana deal 3 damage is what 3 damage will do generally for you. For 3 damage, you're generally spending 2 mana or being like a mage with things having to have like the mana thirst or something. So yeah, this pretty nice. So 2 mana deal 3 is okay, but it's really good if it's really nice if you quick draw it. Then you can disrupt your opponent. It's only your opponent's next card. This is sounding like it reads like the Frost Plague from Death Knight, where it's the next card permanently. So until they play a next card, it'll cost that, which is I think how it works. Quote me on that. Blind Eye Sharpshooter, a 3 mana 1/5 Naga. After you play a Naga, deal 2 damage to a random enemy and draw a spell. Then switch. So, what I'm questioning. So this is in Mage you got it got nerfed to 5 mana. That'll refresh in mana sheet. So I think it's that. So it'll become after you play a spell, deal 2 damage to a random enemy and draw a spell. But I'm wondering if both switch, if it becomes play a spell, draw a Naga, then I like it a lot more. But otherwise, it's perfectly fine. It's like an auctioneer that deals a little bit of damage. It's only 3 mana, so generally you want to play later on and then start doing the fun Naga thing. I like it. I don't think it's going to be that competitive or good, but I still like it because I like just doing things until they die. Speaking of doing things until they die, 3 mana Fell Spell, Load the Chamber. Deal 2 damage. Your next Naga, Fell Spell, and weapon will cost 1 less. Nice little roll of if you're doing it with the blind eye. You could reduce your blind eye or such like that and keep rolling out your Nagas and spells. I don't know what weapons Demon Hunter generally wants to run. The card mana reduction is generally good. This is a large upfront cost. It's dealing 2 damage, which is okay, sure. But really, it's really only going to get you the value if you play at least if you play at least another Fell Spell and a Naga, then you're getting the value from this card, and it's okay. I don't think it is that good of a card or that playable most of the time, but it is what it is, and we'll see how it plays out. Snake Eyes, 3 mana, 2/3 legendary. Battle Cry, roll 2 dice, then discover 2 cards of those cost. Doubles gets an extra discover. So you'll roll a 6-sided die twice. If you get, say, 2 threes, then you'll discover 3 cost cards. So yeah, that's how that works. So you might roll a 2 and a 4, and then you discover a 2-cost card and a 4-cost card. It's card generation. It's fairly cheap. Sure, the body's not great, but it's fairly cheap. Nagas energy and stuff like that. Free cards are free, and random is fun. I like it. Fan the Hammer. Speaking of fun, 4 mana, deal 6 damage. So that's Fireball, but it's split among the lowest health enemies. So if your opponent has a wide board of small things, like say they're a paladin with a bunch of 1/1s or like 2/1s and stuff like that, you can go pow, 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 pow. Though Demon Hunter generally has better ways of doing exactly that as well, because they have like the deal 1 twice, or they have the one that will deal 1 to everything. Mana Thirst will have lifesteal, but generally they'll play that with they'll just have that +2 spell damage little minion to help out with that. And that'll clear and heal them, and it'll be better than this generally because it's only 3 mana versus this 4 mana. So 1 mana difference it serves 2 cards, but it's also healing them a bunch, and it's doing the exact same thing. But this does help with Divine Shields because it'll ping those shields as well. I see this, of course, will probably be run if you're doing Highlander. Otherwise, I'm not sure if this makes the cut in other type of decks. Gunslinger Fortress, our first Highlander legendary here to look at. A 5 mana 4/6. Battle Cry. If your deck has no duplicates, fire 6 2 damage shots at minions in the enemy hands. Minions in the enemy's hand. So you're doing damage to their minions in their hand, and if it does enough damage to kill them, it'll just like destroy the card. The discard will come out. I don't think it's like discard. I think it's like destroy. Think like burn, of like Ticketus burn or something like that. It's destroyed. But yeah, of course, if you do damage to something that is too big to take the damage and die, it'll still have the damage whenever it's played. But otherwise, yeah, if they're half small minions, you manage to hit it. It's a nice little bit of disruption, I think. I like him. Say you're playing this against a hunter who has just done his beneath the grounds. Yeah, ping all his guys in his hand. Pow 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 pow. I've given up a single copy of everything. What have you sacrificed? It's a big ask. I think the hero card will also help with this. We'll look at the hero card later. But yeah, that's Gunslinger Kurtrus. I think he is one of my favorite of the singleton card effects that we've seen. Midnight Wolf, 6 mana, 6/6 with Rush. It's a beast. Outcast summon a copy of this. So this is a bad card. This doesn't get run anywhere. I don't think Highlander Demon Hunter wants to run this either. It's often just going to be a dead card. Get better things to do with if you want to use 6 mana. It's not good. It's not going to be run. I don't think. I don't think it is good. So yeah, that is Demon Hunter. Druid is next, another one of the Highlander classes on the side of the Outlaws. Let's start, of course. They have Dragon Package is most of their cards is Dragon Package. But they have 2 cards that aren't Dragon Package. We'll talk about those real quick and then look into the Dragon Package. First of all, we got the Cactus Construct. I'm not Malfurion. I am Cactus Lord. Very nice little Avatar reference. But discover a 2-cost minion is a nature spell, and summon a 1/2 copy of it. So you summon a 1/2 and you get a 2-cost minion. It's not good. It's not great. I don't think it's great. If you randomly generate it, maybe it's okay, but generally no. And then their other card is Rehydrate. This is your hydration checkpoint. 2 mana, restore 7 health. If you quick draw it, once again, quick draw is if you play it on the same turn it came into your hand, then you'll refresh 2 mana crystals. It is a nature spell, so you will be able to randomly generate it from your nature's gift, Lifebinder's gift, and cards of that sort. I don't think it's good enough to see main deck play, but I don't think you're unhappy when you generate it because it's going to be, if you generate it, it's probably going to just be free 7 health. So nice. Dragon Tales, first of the dragon cards here, going back here. 2 mana. Choose one. Get 2 random dragons that cost 5 or less. So small dragons. Or you get 2 random dragons that cost more than 5. So 6 mana and up dragons. So big boys. I think a lot of the time, or early on, you might do your short tails, and then in the late game, you can do tall tails for some maybe bigger effects. I think you are almost always going short stories, rather, because generally it's just having them to play early, and also some of the low down dragons effects are quite nice. Speaking of low cost dragons, we got a 2 mana 2/1 Splish Splash Whelp. Look a little happy dude in a bathtub. He is of course a dragon. Battle Cry. If you're holding a dragon, you gain a mana crystal, an empty mana crystal. So this is a wild growth on a stick for any dragon deck. Even if you're not like go on full dragons, I think you still keep this guy in your deck because, like I said, he's just wild growth. Even if you're not full dragons, even if like you have like Topior, I guess Topior and a few other like, yes, maybe not if you're just Topior, but still, Splish Splash, well, pretty good card. Any dragon deck will run it, and dragon is the only thing that Druid got, so I think it's going to be good because they hard pushed it. I like it. Take to the Skies. 3 mana, draw 2 dragons, and give them 1/1 +1/+1. So tutor 2 dragons out of your deck and buff them up. A little bit of hand buff, a little bit of tutoring. If you're a dragon deck, I think you like it. You like maybe 1 copy of these is nice. 2 copy might be because Druid draws a lot anyway. Sometimes, depending on how you build the deck. But yeah, why is Happy Whelp related to this card? I don't know why Happy Whelp is one of the related cards. Anyway, Desert Nest Matron, a 4 mana 3/5 with Taunt. It is a dragon, except it is going to be a 0 mana 3/5 because Battle Cry, if you're holding a dragon, refresh 4 mana crystals. So just if you're a dragon deck, you of course run this, and you just get a free 5 of taunt. It's free. You run it. It's good. Buff it up with your take those guys and get it like a 4/6. The dragons are good. Speaking of good dragons, 4 mana 5/4 dragon, the Spine Tail Drake. Battlecry, if you're holding a dragon, deal 5 damage to an enemy minion. So if you're holding a dragon, smack a nice little swing on the board to help with removal. He's the mortal enemy of the Cactus Cutter, of course, who we will meet later on, his mortal enemy. Dragon deck, run this. It's good. Speaking of dragons that are decent with that are really good with the Takes to the Skies hand buff mechanic, a 7 mana 3/4 with taunt. And Battlecry, summon a copy of this for each dragon in your hand. Generally, you might be holding a few dragons. I think this is good. If you summon 2 extra ones, it is okay. You're happy. I don't say happy, but you feel okay if you're summoning 2. Generally, you'll probably have more than 2 dragons in your hand at this point, so you'll probably summon more, which is even better. And of course, with Take the Skies buffing this by 1/1, they'll instead be 4/5s, which is much better. Speaking of dragons that are big and do things that will be in your hand for long enough to help the dragon golem out, Raystraza, a 8 mana 8/8 dragon with Battlecry. If your deck has no duplicates, so this is our Highlander card for Druid. Summon the Purified Dragoness. Now, what is this Dragoness? It is a uninteractable card, much like a Portal or Sargeras Portal. It is this. At the start of your turn, discover a dragon. It costs 4 less. So mana cheat out some dragons. You of course discover, which is important. If it was random, this would be terrible. You can discover dragons. You could discover the nest matron, which then it becomes 0 mana, refreshed 4 mana crystals, which is nice. Bryce Strava. If you're a Highlander deck, you'd probably do this. I think if you're a dragon deck, maybe you want to be Highlander, so you can get this nice effect. Or maybe you don't want to be a Highlander, and you just rather be full on with dragons. So yeah, control beware, because dragons are here. Speaking of dragons, this is a 9 mana 4/12. Don't let that 9 mana fool you, because it won't be. This is 5 Setting Sun. Rush, Lifesteal, and Taunt. It costs 1 less for each dragon you summon this game. 1 Scale of Onyxia in Wild, and this costs 2. So yeah, this is good, especially in this dragon deck, where you're probably going to be summoning a dragon almost every turn, sometimes multiple in one turn, especially if like Nest Matron and stuff like that. This is good. This will it'll reduce really quickly, and it gives you a nice little sustain, and you can discover it from your Raystraza nest. It's very nice, and also Phi is objectively like, look at that, look at that card, look at that dragon, that fairy dragon, looking wonderful. Phi is looking great. So that is Druid. Overall, they hard push dragon. I think because of how hard they've pushed these dragons, I think it can work. I think dragon druid might do some things in wild a little bit, which would be fun. Next up is Hunter, another one of our Highlander classes, working with the outlaws. Hunter got some crap, so let's go through the muck that Hunter got. So 1 mana spell, summon 2/1/1 snakes with stealth. Some of these sidewinders with stealth, these little sneaky little slithery little sneaky snakes. Yeah, 1 mana summon 2/2 worth of stealth. It's not that great. It's like an alley cat. It's alley cat and stuff like that of old, but on a spell instead. Messenger Buzzard. This is a good card though. It is a 2 mana 1/2 beast with Death Rattle. Draw a beast and then hand buff your hand. This tutors your beasts in your deck. Very nice. And then a little hand buff, and it's only 2 mana. I like it. One of the good cards that Hunter has got this expansion. Not much more to say about that. 2 mana, you got your 10-gallon hat, which will draw a minion and give it +1/+1. And Death Rattle, get a 10-gallon hat. So you'll put a hat, you'll draw a minion, with this hat. Tutor is a minion. Hunter notoriously needs draw. This draw is terrible, but we'll put that aside for a moment. We'll shelve that for like in Highlander. Just one of these, of course. You get that, and you can start drawing your minions out. And with the death rattle effect, it'll mean that when you play the minion, it'll die, and then you can draw them again because it'll come back to your hand. Okay, bovine skeleton. Oh, this is if you remember the recurring villain, this is that effect. If the death rattle, if it has 4 or more attacks, summon a bovine skeleton. It's a 3-mana 3/3 undead beast. This is only good if you manage to resummon it at least. I think if you manage to resummon it twice is when this is okay to run in your deck. Resummoning it once, sure, that's nice. If you resummon it more than once, that's better. That's much better. I think generally the secret cow level is terrible. Saddle up. Speaking of terrible, 3 mana. Give your minions death rattle. Summon a random beast that costs 3 or less. So if you have a wide board, yeah, throw that on and make your board a little more sticky with random low cost beasts. This is worse than Soul of the Forest because it's the average. The average beast is the average 3 mana or less beast is not a 2/2. I don't think. Generally, they have more attack or more health. Either way, I don't think this is great because like if you're running these and if you get a board to stick with like these tiny little minions that you have, then making your board even more sticky is nice. But I don't think it's nice enough to run. Speaking of 3 mana or less beasts, this is a 3 mana 2/3 with Rush, Poisonous, and then Quick Draw. Once again, Quick Draw is if you play it the same turn you get it, it'll do its effect. And in this case, its effect is gain immune this turn. So you'll play it and you'll kill something, and then it'll be on the board for the opponent to have to deal with. Like it's the Emperor Cobra is crying in its grave. What a shame. I don't think you run this. Camouflage Mount. Speaking of things that cost too much, 4 mana, give a minion +3/+3 and a random bonus effect. Then when it dies, it will summon a chameleon with the same bonus effect. It'll be a 3/3 with the same bonus effect that you gave the minion. So if you gave it Divine Shield, it'll summon a 3/3 with Divine Shield. This compares to Blessed Kings, except it's 1/1 less, and then in bonus effect instead. I think some of the bonus effects here, like Reborn can be nice if you put on like a nice minion. Wind Fury, it's random, so like a lot of this Rush most of the time isn't going to be good because this costs 4 mana. You're probably only being able to play this if you manage to stick a minion on the board. So it's got to be already on the board. So Rush is going to be worthless for it. Lifesteal, you're happy. Wind Fury, you're happy. Lifesteal, you're happy. Poisonous, you're probably not happy because it's going to have attack anyway. The poisonous isn't going to matter. Taunt. Taunt is probably fine. Taunt is probably a mid roll, much like Reborn over here. Divine Shield, that is one of the best rolls. Stealth, probably not a great roll because you're wanting to generally want to buff a thing before you trade. So giving it stealth and then it just trades, you probably not going to be happy about that. So I think stealth and rush are the stuff. Stealth, rush, and poisonous are the bad ones. Taunt and reborn are okay, and then divine shield, lifesteal, and wind fury are all very nice. Overcasted Garbage, number 2, Star Shooter. 4 mana, 2/3, one of your hero attacks, get an arcane shot, which is 1 mana, deal 2 damage. That's not good. This is overcosted. Even like your arcane hunters of the world are not going to want to run this because it costs too much. It doesn't do enough damage. And if you don't want to keep your arcane spells in your hand, if you have the things that will spell damage them up, you're going to play them immediately. This doesn't get run. Highlander Legendary. Hooray! 4 mana, 3/4 with Battlecry. if you're a Highlander deck, gain immune this turn and attack all enemies. So he becomes a little board swing for you, a little mid-rangey, like clear up some minions for you, help out with your tempo. And if you hand buff him, he becomes an even better board little clear there. This compares to what once was the Prison Breaker, 4 mana 4/4 that dealt 3 damage to all enemies. He's been nerfed to doing only 2 damage to all enemies. This compares to that, so it's just one of them though. This nice little Highlander payoff. Not a great Highlander payoff though. Speaking of not great things, Spurfang, 5 mana 2/5 beast. With Battlecry and Death Rattle, if summoning a random beast with cost equal to this minion's attack. So again, you're going to want to hand buff this. Hand buff is generally bad, and random beasts are generally bad. Say you probably hand buff it once, at least once. Hand buff it. You have to hand buff it at least once for you to be okay with having played this card. For you to be like for it to be like yeah, you played it. You have to hand buff it at least once. I think for it to be like a good card, you're gonna want to get it to 5 or more attack. Now, I think with the Death Rattle, sure, you can play him, and you can use your kennels, something kennels from Nathria, to give it +2 attack and rush for that. For the help of the Death Rattle effect, sure. I think generally this card is bad, and Hunter is sad about the cards that they got this expansion. But to be fair, Hunter is doing good already, so it's just unfortunate that none of these cards really help Hunter push into other directions. I don't think a Highlander Hunter is really capable of working with the cards they have right now. But I'll see. I will try and come up with theory craft something in the coming days.